Howdy Moz fans, welcome to another portion of our special edition Whiteboard Friday, the 1-hour guide to SEO. This is part 2, keyword research. So hopefully you've already seen our SEO strategy session from last week. And what we want to do in keyword research is talk about why keyword research is required. Why do I have to do this task prior to doing any SEO work? The answer is fairly simple. If you don't know which words and phrases people type into Google or YouTube or Amazon or Bing, whatever search engine you're optimizing for, you're not going to be able to know how to structure your content. You won't be able to get into the searcher's brain, into their head, to imagine and empathize with them what they actually want from your content. And you probably won't do correct targeting, which will mean your competitors who are doing keyword research are choosing wise search phrases, right? Wise words and terms and phrases that searchers are actually looking for. And you might be, unfortunately, optimizing for words and phrases that no one is actually looking for, or not as many people are looking for, or that are much more difficult than what you can actually rank for. So let's talk about some of the big goals, big picture goals of keyword research. First off, we are trying to understand the search demand landscape so we can craft better SEO strategies. Let me just paint a picture for you. I was helping a startup here in Seattle, Washington, a number of years ago, this is probably a couple of years ago, called CrowdCow. CrowdCow is an awesome company. They basically will deliver beef from small ranchers, small farms, straight to your doorstep. I personally am a big fan of steak, and I don't really love the quality of the stuff that I can get from the store. I don't love the mass-produced, sort of industry around beef. I think there's a lot of Americans who feel that way. And so working with small ranchers directly where they're sending it straight from their farms is kind of an awesome thing. But when we looked at the SEO picture for CrowdCow, for this company, what we saw was that there was more search demand for competitors of theirs, people like Omaha Steaks, which you might have heard of. There was more search demand for them than there was for buy steak online, buy beef online, buy ribeye online, even things like just shop for steak or steak online, right? These broad keyword phrases, the branded terms of their competition had more search demand than all of the keywords, the specific keywords, the unbranded generic keywords put together. That is a very different picture from a world like soccer jerseys, where I spent a little bit of keyword research time today looking, and basically, the brand names in that field do not have nearly as much search volume as the generic terms for soccer jerseys and custom soccer jerseys and football clubs, particular jerseys, right? Those generic terms have much more volume, which is a totally different kind of SEO that you're doing, right? One is very, we need to build our brand, we need to go out into this marketplace and create demand. And the other one is, hey, we need to serve existing demand already. So you've got to understand your search demand landscape so that you can present to your executive team and your marketing team or your client, whoever it is, hey, this is what the search demand landscape looks like, and here's what we can actually do for you. Here's how much demand there is. Here's what we can serve today versus we need to grow our brand. Next goal of keyword research. We want to create a list of terms and phrases that we can then use to match our marketing goals and achieve rankings. And we want to make sure that the rankings that we promise, right, the keywords that we say we're going to try and rank for actually have real demand, that we can actually optimize for them and potentially rank for them, or in the case where that's not true, they're too difficult, right? They're too hard to rank for, or organic results don't really show up in those types of searches, and we should go after paid or maps or images or videos or some other type of search result. We also want to prioritize those keyword investments. So we're doing the most important work, the highest ROI work in our SEO universe first, right? There's no point in going after, spending hours and months going after a bunch of keywords that if we had just chosen these other ones, we could have achieved much better results in a shorter period of time. And finally, we want to take all the keywords that matter to us and match them to the pages on our site. If we don't have matches, we need to create that content. If we do have matches, but they are suboptimal, not doing a great job of answering that searcher's query, well, we need to do that work as well. If we have a page that matches, but we haven't done our keyword optimization, which we'll talk a little bit more about in a future video, well, we've got to do that too. So an important part of understanding how search engines work is to have this, we're going to start down here and then we'll come back up, is to have this understanding that when you perform a query on a mobile device or a desktop device, Google shows you a vast variety of results. 10, 15 years ago, this was not the case, right? We searched 15 years ago for soccer jerseys. What did we get? 10 blue links. And I think, unfortunately, in the minds of many search marketers and many people who are unfamiliar with SEO, they still think of it that way. How do I rank number one? And the answer is, well, there's a lot of things number one can mean today, and we need to be careful about what we're optimizing for. So if I search for soccer jersey, I get these shopping results from Macy's and soccer.com and all these other places. Google sort of has this sliding box of sponsored shopping results. Then they've got advertisements below that, notated with this tiny green little ad box. And then below that, there's a couple of organic results, what we would call classic SEO, right? 10 blue link style organic results. There's 2 of those. Then there's a box of maps results that show me local soccer stores in my region, which is a totally different kind of optimization, right? Local SEO. And so you need to make sure that you understand and that you can convey that understanding to everyone on your team that these different kinds of results mean different types of SEO. Now, I've done some work recently over the last few years with a company called JumpShot. They collect clickstream data from millions of browsers around the world and millions of browsers here in the United States. And so they're able to provide some broad overview numbers collectively across the billions of searches that are performed on Google every day in the United States. The click-through rates look something like this. For mobile devices, on average, paid results get 8.7% of all clicks. Organic results get about 40%, a little under 40% of all clicks. And zero-click searches, where a searcher performs a query but doesn't click anything. Google essentially either answers the results in there or the searcher is so unhappy with the potential results that they don't bother clicking anything. That is 62%, right? So vast majority of searches on mobile are no-click searches. On desktop, it's a very different story. It's sort of inverted. So paid, 5.6%. I think people are a little savvier about which result they should be clicking on desktop. Organic, 65%, right? So much, much higher than mobile. And zero-click searches, 34%, so considerably lower. There's a lot more clicks happening on a desktop device. That being said, right now, we think it's around 60-40. So meaning 60% of queries on Google at least happen on mobile, 40% happen on desktop. So somewhere in those ranges, might be a little higher or lower. Another important and critical thing to understand about the keyword research universe and how we do keyword research is that there's a sort of search demand curve, right? So for any given universe of keywords, there are essentially a small number, right? Maybe a few to a few dozen keywords that have millions or hundreds of thousands of searches every month. Something like soccer or Seattle Sounders, right? Those have tens, hundreds of thousands, even millions of searches every month in the United States. But people searching for Sounders FC away jersey customizable. There are very, very few searches per month, but there are millions, even billions of keywords like this. When Sundar Pichai, Google's current CEO, was testifying before Congress just a few months ago, he told Congress that 20%, around 20%, of all searches that Google receives each day, they have never seen before. No one's ever performed them in the history of the search engine. I think maybe that number is closer to 18%. But that is just a remarkable sum. And it tells you about the long tail, right? What we call the long tail of search demand. Essentially tons and tons of keywords, millions or billions of keywords that are only searched for 1 time per month, 5 times per month, 10 times per month. If you want to get into this next layer, what we call the chunky middle in the SEO world, right? This is where there are thousands, tens of thousands of keywords potentially in your universe, but they only have between, say, 50 and a few hundred searches per month. And then this fat head, right, has only a few keywords, right? There's only one keyword like soccer or soccer jersey, right? Which is actually probably more like the chunky middle, right? But it has hundreds of thousands or millions of searches. The fat head is higher competition and broader intent. What do I mean by broader intent? That means when someone performs a search for soccer, you don't know what they're looking for. The likelihood that they want a customizable soccer jersey right that moment is very, very small. They're probably looking for something much broader, and it's hard to know exactly their intent. However, as you drift down into the chunky middle and into the long tail where there's fewer keywords, where there's more keywords but fewer searches for each keyword, your competition gets much lower. There's fewer people trying to compete and rank for those because they don't know to optimize for them. And there's more specific intent. Customizable Sounders FC away jersey is very clear. I know exactly what I want. I want to order a customizable jersey from the Seattle Sounders away, right? The particular colors that the away jersey has, and I want to be able to put my logo on there or my name on the back of it, what have you, right? So super specific intent. As a result, you need to figure out what the map of your universe looks like so that you can present that, and you need to be able to build a list that looks something like this. You should, at the end of the keyword research process, and we featured a screenshot from Moz's Keyword Explorer, which is a tool that I really like to use and I find super helpful whenever I'm helping companies. Even now that I've left Moz, right, and been gone for a year, I still sort of use Keyword Explorer because the volume data is so good and it puts all this stuff together. However, there are 2 or 3 other tools that a lot of people like, one from Ahrefs, which I think also has the name Keyword Explorer, and one from SEMrush, which I like, although some of the volume numbers, at least in the United States, are not as good as what I might hope for. There are a number of other tools that you could check out as well. A lot of people like Google Trends, which is totally free and interesting for some of that broad volume data. So I might have terms like soccer jersey, Sounders FC jersey, custom soccer jersey, right, for Seattle Sounders. And then I'll have these columns: volume, because I want to know how many people search for it; difficulty, how hard will it be to rank, right? If it's super difficult to rank and I have a brand new website and I don't have a lot of authority, well, maybe I should target some of these other ones first that are lower difficulty. Organic click-through rate, just like we talked about back here, there are different levels of click-through rate, and the tools, at least Moz's Keyword Explorer tool, uses jump shot data on a per keyword basis to estimate what % of people are going to click the organic results. Should you optimize for it? Well, if the click-through rate is only 60%, pretend that instead of 100 searches, this only has 60, or 60 available searches for your organic clicks. 95% though, great, awesome. All 4 of those monthly searches, right, are available to you. Business value, right? How useful is this to your business? And then set some type of priority to determine. So I might look at this list and say, hey, for my new soccer jersey website, this is the most important keyword, right? I want to go after a custom soccer jersey for each team in the US, and then I'll go after team jersey, and then I'll go after customizable away jerseys, and then maybe I'll go after soccer jerseys because it's just so competitive, so difficult to rank for. There's a lot of volume, but the search intent is not as great. The business value to me is not as good, right? All those kinds of things. And last but not least, I want to know the types of searches that appear. Organic, paid, do images show up? Does shopping show up? Does videos show up? Do maps results show up? If those other types of search results, like we talked about here, show up in there, I can do SEO to appear in those places too. And that could yield in certain keyword universes a strategy that is very image-centric or very video-centric, which means I got to do a lot of work on YouTube, or very map-centric, which means I got to do a lot of local SEO, or other kinds like this. Once you build a keyword research list like this, you can begin the prioritization process and the true work of creating pages, mapping the pages you already have to the keywords that you've got, and optimizing in order to rank. And we'll talk about that in part 3 next week. Take care.